In this video, we're going to continue talking about the topics in chapter 3. Now we are going to explore the concept of property. Property is another word that can be utilized to describe a characteristic of a substance that can be observed. And when it comes to matter, properties can be classified as physical properties or chemical properties. We are first going to look into what is a physical property. Physical properties are going to be characteristics that can be observed without changing the identity of the substance. Some examples of physical properties include luster, and this looks at if a substance is shiny or not. Melting point and boiling points, these are transitions of the states of matter, and we are going to look at them in more detail in a few moments. Malleability, meaning if we can mold it. Ductility, meaning if we can make it into a wire. The phase changes that we just described, solid, liquid, gas, those also are physical properties. And in addition, the density of a substance, the solubility of a substance, or the odor of a substance can also be classified as a physical property. Chemical properties, on the other hand, are going to be characteristics that can only be observed by changing the identity of the substance. Meaning that if a chemical property is described, understand that there's going to be, in a way, a chemical reaction that can occur on our original substance, and this chemical property is describing it. Examples of chemical property include flammability, meaning if it can actually catch into flame, combustibility, meaning if it can undergo combustion, toxicity, and this is looking at molecules that can actually affect the human body by interaction with different biomolecules. The pH of a substance is a chemical property because pH, even though we're going to look at it in chapter 10, is the willingness of a particular substance to give away hydrogen atoms. And because in essence, that is a loss of hydrogen and is going to be interacting with other molecules. That's why it's a chemical property. Lastly, if the substance reacts with water, reacts with air, reacts with acids or other substances, that reactivity represents a chemical property. And we also have the ability to rust. Rust, in essence, is going to be the combination of different elements with oxygen that is going to result in a brand new substance. So that's why that is considered a chemical property. To practice, to identify if a statement indicates a physical property or a chemical property, we are going to go over problem 3.10. As you can see, we have 5 different descriptions, and we're going to categorize them between physical or chemical properties. Let's go over letter A. Neon is a colorless gas at room temperature. This is describing not only the state of matter for neon, but is also telling you that it's colorless. So this specifically is a physical property. Let's look at letter B. Apple slices turn brown when they are exposed to air. So that air exposure there is creating a change in color. So this is a chemical property for the apple slices. Let's look at letter C. Phosphorus will ignite when exposed to air. Now you determine if that describes a physical or a chemical property. You can also do letter D and letter E as practice. In addition to matter having chemical and physical properties, matter can also undergo changes. And those changes can be physical or chemical. We are first going to talk about physical changes. When it comes to physical changes, they occur if a substance has a change in the state, a change in the physical shape, or no change in the identity and composition of the substance. On the image that you see on the right side, this is actually illustrating how sea salt is obtained. So from the mixture of seawater, what happens overall is that there is a physical change because the water is boiled off and then the salt is left over. So this is representing a physical change for specifically the water and the salt that was present there. Let's now define words that will explain the different changes that can happen between the physical states of matter. And remember that a change, a phase change, is always a physical change. When a solid turns into a liquid, we call that melting. When a liquid turns into a gas, that is called evaporation. A solid can turn into a gas. And when that happens, that is called sublimation. These changes are not unidirectional. They don't go from left to right. You can have them in any direction. If a gas turns into a liquid, that means that we call it condensation. If a liquid turns into a solid, it does it by the process of freezing. A gas can go all the way to a solid by the process of deposition. Make sure that you're familiar with this terminology for the changes can happen between the phases that matter has. Now we are going to talk about what are chemical changes. During a chemical change, a new substance is going to form. And because we have a brand new substance, it's going to contain a new composition, and that new substance is going to have new chemical properties and new physical properties. In the image that we have on the slide, it gives us different examples of chemical changes that include when iron is rusting because there is the formation of rust, when wood burns, in our stomachs when we consume food, the process of metabolism is a chemical change. Cooking an egg, baking a cake, electroplating a banana that is rotting. And you can see that there's other examples here. All of these indicate chemical changes. But in addition to this, we have indicators that can let us know if a chemical change is occurring. The hints that tells us If a particular substance is undergoing a chemical change, include change in color, change in odor, because the new substance that is produced has a particular odor. The formation of bubbles, because the new substance or substances that is produced may be contained in a liquid form, but it is a gas, so it bubbles out of the liquid that is contained. The formation of a precipitate. A precipitate is another word that we use in chemistry for the formation of a solid when you combine different substances. If that first substance is combined with other substances and there is warmth being released or is getting cooler, those are also representations or indications, I should say, that a chemical change have happened. Lastly, the release of light that indicates that there is a chemical change occurring with the substance. And you can see that in the release of light, a firefly gives off light as a result of a chemical change because of the biomolecules that it contains.